Touchdown, Patriots!
The Patriots Postgame Show, presented by Cybereason, with Hardy, Mike Dussault, and Paul Perillo, is your source for all the news and information following every Patriots game.
And the Patriots have won their 6th Super Bowl title. In the early 2000s, they won 3 of 4. Now they have won 3 of the last 5. Yes, it's still a dynasty.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
I hope y'all keep that same energy for tonight, baby. Can't wait.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
Slipping and sliding, he was like a cat. Pop, pop, bang. Patriots get the win in Buffalo 14-10 tonight to move to 9-4 on the season. Welcome into the Patriots Postgame Show presented by Cybereason, official defenders of the New England Patriots. And that Patriots defense tonight came up big when they had to. Mike Dussault, as a defensive guy, you must have loved it.
I think so. All I could hear was the alarm going off in Gillette Stadium the whole time, so I'm not exactly sure what happened. I just hear beeping still. But no, great win.
I'm rethinking my whole mood for the postgame show after Paul chastised me in the pregame for maybe not being impartial enough. I'm wearing a Patriots logo. I'm going to remain impartial. You know what?
Oh, I did not chastise you. Don't be a powder.
Okay. I will say this, though. For a game that was odd because of the conditions, not all that entertaining because of the 3 and outs and just, you're just waiting for the wind to do something goofy to affect it. It ended up being very compelling at the end in terms of
compelling, yes,
the drama.
Absolutely, yep.
I'll give it that. Surprisingly compelling at the end, but
absolutely,
it was a long night.
Yeah, it was, and
long night of something.
People don't need to hear our travails, but we spent the better part of the second half with a mind-numbing fire alarm going off inside Gillette Stadium.
I'll give you
kind of hard to even think right now.
I'll give you $100 if you don't even mimic it.
All right, well, sorry, my apologize. It's late. I didn't mean to do that, but I think going in, this is kind of what you thought. I mean, I'm saying going in meaning the pregame show, just based on what the weather ended up being. And, I think we talked about the unwenue of it all, the heavy running. Let's just lean into that. The Patriots were able to do that. Was it always effective? No, but, they sure had some nice runs mixed in. Of course, the Damian Harris touchdown run was huge. And, I thought Ramondre had some good runs there in the third quarter when they needed kind of a response drive. And then the defense with the final stand. But, again, it's a little bit of an outlier this game with the weather and the way it unfolded. So, but hey, at this point, good win and headed to the bye week.
All right. So, Paul, other
great win? I mean,
okay.
you had to find a way to win a game in terrible conditions. Here's the thing: the game sucked, but somebody had to win it, and you found a way to win it because of all the things that we talked about in the pregame as to what we thought the Patriots had the edge. Tougher. More ready with the game on the line to make plays and execute.
Yeah.
And they did just enough. They did nothing offensively, but they did just enough. And then defensively, they leaked but came up with 2 huge red zone stops, and that was the difference. Huge win, huge implications moving forward. I don't know if it tells you anything about your team and how they stack up with another good team, but just an enormous win. Enormous.
Paul and I both 5-1 on the over-unders.
Was I 6-0? What was I, 6-0?
You were 3-3.
3-3.
I was a half a tackle away.
And I was 4 Josh Allen rushing yards away.
Oh, yeah.
39 he ended up with, 35, 3.5 rushing yards anyway. Other than that, we all picked the game. We all picked the Patriots to win it outright despite being 3-point dogs in this game.
Right.
So, as you said, Paul, a great win. A really
tremendous. Like I said, somebody had to win it.
Tough night, and there were a couple of weird plays and a couple of weird decisions throughout that we're going to dissect throughout the night here. But before we do that, the good, the bad, and the training room, which is presented by Theragun.
Now it's time for the good.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
The bad.
If you were in my toilet bowl, I wouldn't bother flushing it.
And the training room.
You want a back rub?
Presented by Theragun.
Good, the bad, and the training room, presented by Theragun. We'll get to the goods. I think we're going to have pretty short lists tonight, just based on the way that this game went in terms of who really stands out as a good, who stands out as a bad, and a couple of guys who are going to be in need of some Theragun or Theragun Mini.
Oh, for sure.
But we'll get to that. We'll start with the good. Deuce, who's your first good?
You know what? I'm just going to start with the red zone defense, and I mean I think that was it. That was the game. They had a couple stops earlier. I don't know if they were they went for 4 in the red zone, I believe. So I think they stiffened a little bit. I thought it seemed like Buffalo was starting to find some little bit of success with the passing game, certainly on that last drive. But they stood firm there at the end and got a stop. I thought that was impressive, and that got the win. So, like you said, it's kind of a short list, but I think that's a very specific thing that they were able to come through. Nice. I think it's nice for the defense, too. I think that's, one of those kind of moments you can build off of. They've had a few of those this season, goal line stands and whatnot. But it sure felt to me like the Bills were finally finding their stride, and they certainly had their chance to get that, next touchdown to take the lead back. So credit to the defense. They made a stand and got off the field and allowed the offense to just kneel on it. So that was really impressive.
A red zone defense, first one that stands out to me too. I mean, that was the key to this game, key to sealing it up at the end.
Yeah, the 2 possessions in the fourth quarter was the game. I thought that McDermott made a mistake kicking the field goal the first time. I thought field goals that direction were an iffy proposition, and I would have rather, if I were Buffalo, have had a 4th down attempt on that one, and then obviously they had to go for it on 4th down. But yeah, I think those 2 red zone stops in the last 10 minutes of the game, that was ultimately the difference of the game.
Yeah, I mean, despite what it would have done score-wise, going for it and converting it changes the complexion. Obviously, it flips the score for the first time throughout the course of the game. It would have done a lot to just, swing scores, swing momentum in a game where you just knew nobody was going to be scoring anything easy, if at all.
Right.
It would have changed things dramatically. Who's your first good, Paul?
I'll start with Damian Harris because in a game that you knew points were going to be tough to come by, he found a seam and hit a home run. 64-yard touchdown. That was basically all the offense tonight. And 3rd and 5, they were run, punt, run, punt, run. They're going to punt again, and all of a sudden, he gone.
He gone.
And it's a 64-yard touchdown. He found a seam. Jakob Johnson, again, making some big blocks. But Damian Harris was my first good, 10 for 111 with a touchdown. Unfortunately, he ended up showing up later in the program in another category.
Yes.
He will. It's an obvious one. It was a huge run, the 64-yarder and the touchdown. All of it factors in. I think thank you to both of you for giving me, I think, the most obvious offensive good on the night. Ramondre Stevenson. Oh, you think I'm going to go with Nick Foles first? I mean, listen, I will.
It was windy.
I'll take him at some point. But Ramondre, to me, if you're just looking at a guy who was good tonight, yes, Damian Harris was good, and he had a couple of big plays. But the guy that good.
Ramondre Stevenson was better. I agree
good.
With you.
No, I'm not saying mine's better. I'm just saying when he got the ball, a guy like me can look at it and say, "Oh, he's good."
Yeah, he's hard to tackle.
And the numbers aren't going to wow you. I mean, it was 24 for 78, which is 3.25 a carry. But some of the boxes that he was running into and moving the pile, and there was the one drive where they kicked the field goal to make it 14.
Yep.
He just was immense. He closed out a really key element of the game, closing out the third quarter while the Patriots were going into the wind with just punishing run after punishing run. I know the numbers don't look great, but he was really good tonight.
The numbers don't look as good. And let me tell you something about Harris. You can't even use your old trick, Paul, when it's like if you're looking at Harris's numbers, 10 for 111. Oh, you take away that 64-yarder. How is he? Still like 9 carries for 60 yards, better on average than what Ramondre was tonight. It's just that Ramondre seemed to always get his. He was always getting his yards, and even if they were only 3 yards a pop, which is what his average was, 3.3, in a game like tonight, averaging 3.3 yards on a carry was huge.
It was, and I mean, just how difficult he is to take down, and he just keeps his legs going. He kind of keeps his pad level low. He maintains his balance, and he just keeps his legs churning, and he just can't not pick up extra yards after contact. So He was absolutely huge, and I think in the clutch moment in that third quarter where you really needed kind of a response, at the very least you need to flip field position a little bit, give your defense a blow. He was able to do that, so yeah, for sure. He was a big part of that one.
All right, what else we got?
I got to put Nick Folk on. I'm sorry to steal him from you, Hardy, but I mean, we joked that they wouldn't even attempt a kick, and this first one we're seeing here, that was straight through and true, and then here the second one, a little bit of curve to that one, but
he's just trying to keep the crowd into it.
They gave him a little bit of hope. Well, I like it after
he's
the
always
Buffalo.
had a flair for the dramatic.
The Buffalo people brought it up this week. Oh, he's terrible in windy games. So what can you say? It's Big Kick Nick. He continues to deliver in big spots. 6 points again tonight when they won by 4. So they needed those 6 points that he delivered, and it's not going to get much more difficult than kicking in these kind of conditions.
Well, let's face it. He's responsible once again for half the scoring. Last week it was 18 of the 36 points. Tonight they have the touchdown and the 2-point conversions. So there's 2 scores. The other 2 scores off the foot of Nick Folk. He is once again, our perpetual good list
he belongs
inhabitor.
Belongs on the good list again. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the missed extra point that they had. They could have gone for 3 there and tied it at the end to send it to overtime if they really wanted to. So
the field goal was into the wind though. No one kicked anything into the wind.
They didn't do it at all. Wow. Whatever.
They didn't. They didn't. Well, they didn't miss.
I'm still thrown off from that alarm too. You have no idea what that fire alarm was like. It was a half an hour.
I'm telling you, my head is like splitting.
It was
splitting. It's so. I mean, they don't. Like I said, they don't need to hear that.
What do you got, Paul?
What do I have? I want to talk about the front guys that I figured Deuce would have been all over by now. I thought Godshaw.
You know what? Steal him because he stole my Nick Folk. Steal the front 7.
Godshaw.
10 tackles.
Lawrence Guy.
Yeah.
I know Buffalo is not, the second coming of the Ravens when it comes to running the ball, but they're not terrible running it either. And, in these conditions tonight, you couldn't allow Buffalo to get anything going on the ground, and they didn't. They ended up with 100 yards rushing as a team. They were constantly having to throw to pick up first downs, and you didn't want to do that in these conditions. Despite Deuce's refusal to acknowledge the conditions, you couldn't kick the ball at all going from right to left on your TV dial. You could not kick the ball that way. That's another reason why I think McDermott's decision to kick, because that field goal was, as short as you could be, and it just didn't have a chance. It just got pushed right outside the upright, the one field goal that Tyler Bass missed. But I just think those front guys for the Patriots, all night long, it was just I'm just astounded. 10 tackles that you just said, Mike, for Gotcha. I thought that was his best game as a Patriot. Bentley, Hightower, these guys were all active around the line of scrimmage, and they just were really physical. They won the physical battle all night against the run, and I think that was a necessity. You couldn't allow Buffalo to run it.
Yep.
People say that I pick odd hills to die on. Deuce's insistence that the weather wasn't all that bad for the first 3 quarters of the game tonight, it wasn't until a piece of paper actually blew across the field did he admit that, it looked like maybe it was windy to him.
Late in the fourth quarter.
I would concede when I saw a long strand of toilet paper make its way across the field. I saw it. All right, I guess it is windy.
Poor Lisa Salters almost got knocked over at halftime while she was giving her a little update. Her notebook is flying around. Susie Colbert is holding a microphone. I think they might have put ankle weights on her to make sure she didn't blow away. And Deuce is like, it doesn't look that bad to me.
Well, I guess I was just comparing it to some of the pregame shots that were it looked like it was a monsoon meets a blizzard. Because
go figure, Hardy, wind is not something you can see on TV.
Try telling that to Deuce. He didn't want to hear it.
I don't have an eye for wind.
The Patriots attempted 3 passes in the game, 2 of which were thoroughly unneeded. And he said, it doesn't look that bad to me.
Oh, boy. All right, moving along. Who's up next? I think it's you, Paul.
I just went with Godshaw and Guy and the big ins up front.
Okay, those are good. I really don't like a specific good to point out.
Adrian Phillips, I would throw in there.
Okay,
just a couple pass defenses. I thought there were a couple key moments that
big one on third down.
Yeah,
I would say this: as maddening as it was to not watch them throw the ball more than 3 times, whenever I would, cry out for a throw,
you would cry out.
I would. There was one in the first half when Patriots were still deep in their own end. It was a 3rd and long, and I wanted
3rd and
to throw
16 from his own 10 into the wind is one of the ones that are.
Okay, so
hey,
Paul,
let's let it fly.
Okay, so Paul and Deuce, talked me off that one a little bit, but at other times when I thought it was warranted, they would hand the ball off to Ramondre or to Damian, and they would pick up 6 yards, and I said, okay, I guess I know what. I guess Bill and Josh know what they're doing. I guess they have a plan and they're sticking to it. So I will credit not necessarily the mind-numbing, run game that the Patriots did tonight, but their, I guess, willingness to stick with it.
I will say this, and I think this is the Adrian Phillips pass defense that Deuce was talking about. This is a really good play by Phillips.
Yeah, and then I think he got hurt.
I think he got hurt in the celebration.
Maybe. He looked annoyed.
You see Josh Allen does a nice job of sort of extending this play, breaks out of a Deatrich Wise tackle, it floats, and now he makes a throw here. 50-50 ball gives this guy a chance. Phillips makes sure he gets his hand in between Knox's hands. Knox, by the way, looked like he was playing with boxing gloves tonight, but that's another story for another day.
He's on the down list. Is he on our up list?
The Patriots good list.
Whoa, I thought this was our list, Spider. All right, I got you. I have a couple more. I mentioned it just quickly in passing, Jakob Johnson. I thought he had some really important blocks tonight on some of the key plays. The guards in general, the interior, those 3 guys in the interior, I thought. You saw some of those goal line shots that ESPN provided of replays, and you could see the seams that opened up with Shaq and Teddy the K and David Andrews. And that I think we should probably throw Miles Bryant out there for the last play. I mean, I think they kind of made more of it than needed to be. Clearly, Josh Allen, he had 2 guys to choose from. I think he picked the wrong one and threw it short. I don't think it was going to get there, like Brian Greasy said. But a good instinctive play, like Louis Riddick explained, for Bryant coming off of Beasley, getting over there. He doesn't know that the throw was going to be short. Goes over there and knocks it down to seal the game. So that's what I had.
Okay, good. Let's move on to the bads. Deuce, you want to go first?
Ooh, the bads. Well, I know there'll be some debate about this one, but I'll just throw N'Keal on to kick it off with just that one play off his face mask. No, just about also saying to the coaching staff, why was he out there? Why are we picking now? So I'm going to start it off with just saying, N'Keal, get away from the punt. What are you doing?
Well, yeah, to me, you can put them under the same category. N'Keal, whether it was smart to have him out there or not, which I don't think it was, that's something we talked about during the game. Do you even really need to reinforce that as a coach? Like, it was maybe a bad coaching decision to have him out there.
That's what I mean, yeah.
But I mean, once you're out there, what are you doing?
Dude, help me out on this.
Yeah.
We've been to a lot of training camp practices together with
not one.
N'Keal
We haven't
Harry
seen him
back
return one punt, Paul.
Let me jump ahead.
Not one.
Not once.
I mean,
once.
you know me, CTE. I don't always remember
No,
so
but-
well. I don't like Kyle Duggar constantly back there.
Right.
Jacoby Myers constantly back
Yeah.
there. J.J. Taylor constantly back. I can't recall
And that's where my head
any
was going.
consistent basis of N'Keal Harry being the guy back there to make decisions. And not only he was back there for that punt, the ensuing kick after the Bills' touchdown he was back for.
He wasn't even in the doghouse. I don't know. But I mean, that was a huge play.
Ramondre Stevenson might not play until his 3rd year if that was him.
Well, when you get to year 3, you got a little bit longer leash.
So
I guess.
I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that decision.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what Harry was doing. I'm not taking Harry off the hook.
Yep.
The play,
But overall,
Hardy nails it. Like, I don't. Okay, questionable decision. I don't think you need to tell a guy, hey, if you have a hard time fielding the punt, get as close to it as you can, and then when it's bouncing,
Chase after
lean
it.
your head down as you're chasing after it to see if maybe it'll graze your face mask.
Well,
Yeah.
But what if it's windy?
I mean,
same thing.
in all
Just do it.
seriousness,
Just do it.
Without that play, I think the game would have been over in like the second quarter.
It might have been.
Because
Yeah.
I just feel like it was one of those nights where Buffalo couldn't really get out of its own way. And I think they would have won the game. That touchdown put Buffalo right back in the game at 8-7. And I think it changed the way the rest of the game played. And ultimately you had to hold on at the end. But terrible all around on that decision.
Who's your first bad, Paul? It doesn't have to be in any order. Just pick one.
This is all, again, I don't really think there was a tremendous amount that was bad tonight. I'm going to go with a couple of plays individually. I'll start with Dante Hightower's horse collar on that play. I thought it was a totally unnecessary out-of-bounds throwdown, and he clearly had Moss by the bag. Like, let it go. And it was funny because there was a play on the next drive where and we see the highlight of Hightower's play. There was a play in the next drive where he wraps the guy up and sort of spins him out of bounds, and then he
gently
he dramatically throws his hands up as if he got wronged. And this is a call that would get called 100 times out of 100.
I don't.
That said, I'm a little surprised they called it because
I don't understand his insistence to go up high in the tackle. Toward the end of the game, we saw Deatrich Wise miss a shot that he had at Josh Allen. I'll give him a pass on that because as you're falling, you still have to be reaching up. You can't go low at a quarterback anymore, whether you're falling or not. So for Deatrich, that one I kind of understand. For Dante Hightower, is it more effort to go low? Probably, But for these guys and the shape they're in, the conditioning, I don't care what he's dealing with. To continually go up high and to get the horse collar, and then Paul, as you said, on the very next play, wrap him up high again. What are you doing? It wasn't great.
But not that Hightower played a bad game because I don't think he did. But that was a bad play.
How do you feel about Jake Bailey tonight?
I kind of give him a pass just
because of the
all
wind?
Things considered.
If we're going to put Nick Folk on the good list for dealing with it,
but Nick Folk didn't have to kick it that way. He never kicked. They didn't even let him attempt an extra point. How
about when Jake was kicking off with the wind behind him and couldn't put it through the end zone?
Now that one I'll buy. I'm buying that one. I had the kickoff coverage.
They got it up 35.
Yeah, the kickoff coverage in the fourth. They allowed him to come out over the 35-yard line, and it starts with Hardy's right.
Why are you able to return that kickoff to begin with?
Okay. Tyler Bass, I believe, had 3 kickoffs that went into the stands that way.
You talked me into it.
Jake Bailey, bad list.
Yeah.
He's on my bad list.
Yeah, I had the whole operation written down, so I think that was a play. I mean, that was. So you got a 14-10 lead, and now the other team's looking at it and say, I got to drive 75 yards into the wind. Instead, they only had to drive like 64 yards. And I know that doesn't seem like a big deal.
Every yard meant something tonight.
Right. So I thought that was a big play. And, the punting into the wind, total pass.
It kind of reminded me at times of the Super Bowl against the Rams, only they didn't have wind to blame for the crap game that was. You probably loved it. You thought that was a good football game.
Oh, he didn't love it at all.
The Super Bowl?
13-3 game?
Yes.
I want my money back.
Good. You're one of the few
people. At least this game was compelling down in the fourth quarter. That game.
I know. You and I have talked about it before, but that was some bad offense. We are in the distinct minority for people who are willing to call that what it was, which is a bad football game.
Bad offense.
Well, the Patriots won. It was great. Well,
yeah. I mean, that's
that
different.
part is great, but the actual game itself, no. This one tonight, you can look at the conditions. You can look at what was on the line, especially for a regular season game, and say, wow. And I want to get to more of that later. Not just what this win means for New England, but what this loss means for Buffalo. But we can do that.
Buffalo's run out of a margin for error. They have to win now in Tampa next week, and then they have to win the return match.
Paul, I'm talking about long term.
Yeah, I don't think long term it has that only because of the oddities of the game.
Paul, we're not doing it.
Not yet, Paul.
I do have something I would like to do later in this show, though.
Performative dance?
That has to do with the offensive game plan that you so harshly criticized all night.
I was a little critical of it.
Well, I was going to bring that up for the next bad list.
Does that have anything to do with the future?
You mean Buffalo's offensive game plan or the Patriots?
No, the Patriots.
Well, that's...
Let's hear what Deuce has to say about it.
We're just going to dance around.
I'm going to tiptoe around it a little bit because I think they did enough with the running game. But, 3 passes, certainly striking. But I'm going to just say the red zone offense and the execution as they got down. I just think if they knew they were going to come into this game barely throwing the ball, I just would have liked to see maybe a little bit more creativity in trying to get into the end zone. I think that was, you had Harris bust off that long one, but otherwise I think they
only got in the red zone once.
Yeah, I know. And I know that it's a little bit of a nitpick, but it's just a continuation of the trend of lately. Red zone, kind of a problem. I know it's an outlier. They can barely even throw the ball in this game, but I would have liked to seen something tried at least to get 6.
Yeah,
down
I brought that up because I do think that's like a good talk when we're done with good, bad, and the injured. Just how much that means, if anything, their approach tonight. And I understand. Listen, Buffalo didn't throw it all over the yard either. but 30 is a lot different than 3.
Well,
and don't tell me about the running. Like, they had the same amount of yards. Like, the total yards were the same in this. The Buffalo threw for him, the Patriots ran for him. But I don't know. We can get into that a little bit more, I think, later on.
All right.
A couple minor things on the bads, unless you have a specific bad.
I just want you to be mindful of the time. Generally, we have a player calling in around this time. So,
no, I know.
Keep it big picture stuff, or maybe coaches.
I had very early in the game. Again, we're talking. I didn't think really there was anybody that was bad tonight, really, for the Patriots. I didn't have, aside from that Harry play, I didn't think there was any individual bad. Like, they have to be on the bad list. Mm-hmm. Early in the game, Buffalo was facing a 3rd and 9, and Judon jumps offside to give him a free 5, makes it a 3rd and 4 that they then convert. Much easier conversion. I think little plays like that with the weather the way it was were huge. Mm-hmm. They allowed drives to continue. They allowed easier conversions. I thought that was one. And
Jonnu Smith got called for the hold.
Yeah.
That was another big one.
Down.
Yeah. And I thought there was some curious use of timeouts at times. I thought Buffalo faced a 3rd and 3 from their own 41 heading into the wind with 2:20 left. And Bill just let the clock run out, run down. And then all of a sudden he calls a timeout with 2:20. And I'm like, you haven't thrown the ball the whole half. You're probably not going to throw it now. Why not just let that wind down? Buffalo's not in any rush to try to throw the ball into the wind here. And then they got the ball, and they ran it a couple of times, and then they called another timeout with 30-something seconds left, which almost put them in a position where, ultimately it did put them in a position where they had to punt the ball at the end. And I don't think you wanted to do any of those kinds of things on a night like tonight. So I thought there was some odd decisions at the end of the first half, timeout-wise.
Crazy. Just a real quick, seeing this on Next Gen Stats, the Patriots ran the ball on 94% of their plays, the highest run rate in a game in this millennium.
Yeah, and by the way, we had that caller that asked if we thought they would run it, remember, 80% of the time, and he was absolutely right. I didn't think they would. Yeah. I didn't think it would be that many times.
Let's get to the training room. And a couple of players go down.
So yeah, big one was Harris, and he did come back, but on that long run, you could see he didn't look right, and not a great sign. You saw what the run game meant tonight. Hamstrings, touchy, can tend to linger.
Yeah,
not great to have that. Of course, you feel good about the way Stevenson ran. Maybe they get Taylor back, but that was an unfortunate one. Judon left, came back in.
Yep.
And then Adrian Phillips there on the last play.
J.C. Jackson left here, and also came back in.
Damian Harris. Yeah, J.C. Jackson missed a couple plays. This was Harris. You could just tell he was.
Yeah, and this is
like me running right there.
That play, to Hardy's point earlier about, you take away the 64-yard run, and I think he ends up with 9 carries for 47 yards. Still a healthy average.
Yeah.
And that play was one of the reasons why. I don't like to just play the one play game, but that was the play of the game. A 64-yard touchdown.
No question.
And it allowed the Patriots to play with the lead all night.
Yep.
And that's the way they wanted to play.
Because if they had to throw, they would have been in trouble.
I just wonder if they would have.
They just would have kept trying to run it.
If they just kept we can get to this, I suppose, at some point. Do you have any concerns with their approach with their quarterback tonight? And I'm not saying I do. I'm just wondering.
No, I don't.
Hold on. I'm being a little too.
No, hold on one second before we get into it. We got to thank Theragun.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
As we wrap up the training room here, but we talked about it before earlier on in the show. We're all using our Theragun minis. We love them. It's the only physician-created percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tensions and aches. It's the scientifically calibrated combination of depth, speed, power. Trusted by 250 professional sports teams. It's got a 90-day money-back guarantee, 30-day money-day. You're not going to want your money.
It doesn't matter. You're not.
You're not going to want it. You don't need it. You need to know anything
guarantee
about those rebates because you're going to love it.
I'm mixing up with Golfers Warehouse. They do a 90-day. This is a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Humble brag. I do a lot of these.
No, I was just trying to get myself some free golf stuff. Go to Therabody. You know what? Golfers Warehouse. Join Patriots.com. Join us here on the Postgame Show. There's still time left this season. We'll get you on. They start at just $199. Thank you to Therabody, Theragun, and the Theragun Mini, which I personally endorse.
Me too.
All right. So do we have concerns about the Patriots' approach to offense? That is your big question.
Well, you were pretty outspoken during the game, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not arguing with you about you're complaining, like, let him throw it once. Let him throw. Like, you were pretty outspoken about it. Do you think this says anything about it, or was it just the conditions were such that they had the lead and they said, no matter what, we're not going to allow him, like,
to mess it up?
Yeah. Does that have any? Do you have any concerns about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I do, but it's more about I understand why they did what they did. I guess it's just a little disappointing to see that he didn't have something that they were, willing to try. Now, the way the game unfolded, was there ever a moment where they really it's 3rd and 8 and we just kind of do a draw? I never really felt like.
Yeah.
I mean,
there were a lot of those moments.
Really, I mean,
you just
I
talked
just
about
felt like
one
they
in the
were
red
mostly
zone.
in control of the game. Well, yeah, but I have concerns about it. But I just think if they're in a position of strength, that they're gonna treat him with kid gloves until they don't have to. And I never felt like I never felt like they were behind. They fell behind. They had to start throwing. There were certainly moments within, it would be nice to throw here tonight. But overall, it worked. But I still have questions if they get behind by a couple scores. What does that look like? What does the execution look like that? And now I think that they've had the opportunity the last few weeks to kind of play a certain way, and they haven't really had to go to that. They haven't really been able to, either on the other side of the ball, face a team that could spread them out. So I still think there are some questions, but it's a little bit disappointing. I mean, it's just such a jarring number. It's 3 times. I mean, I think you can't look at that and not say they were worried that he was going to short circuit what they were trying to do.
My short answer is yes. It does worry me. Huge asterisk, because I think it was mostly predicated on the conditions tonight.
Okay.
The reason for it.
So you're blowing it off. No, that's fine. That's kind of what I'm doing.
I'm not blowing it off entirely, though, because you saw Josh Allen. He could still throw it a little bit tonight. And if it were in any way indicative of their long-term plans for the offense, it's like, you know what? We got a good game manager here. He can throw the ball a little bit, but we're really going to focus in on the running game. I don't see that as a recipe for long-term, deep playoff run success in the NFL.
No.
That's just not the sport anymore.
But I wonder if there was anything.
Look at the Titans. And if you think you're going to go to the Super Bowl because you have a world-class running game, think again.
If you think you're going to go to the Super Bowl scoring 14 points in a game, like that's
okay,
the bottom line.
But
you're
again,
you're not going to win a lot of games scoring 14 points.
No, but tonight the reason why they scored 14 was because
right,
of the
and
win.
that's why I'm asking, and I'm not overly concerned. My answer is no. I'm not overly concerned about their approach tonight, but I'm wondering if it was strictly the weather.
No, it wasn't.
Or if there was something about this environment that they said, you know what, we're going to keep them out of harm's way. We're going to make sure. Now, if the conditions weren't as such, they would not have thrown the ball 3 times. But I just wonder. And I also thought it was odd.
Are you talking about a mental thing, or are you talking about Mac's physical capabilities as a passer?
Well, the physical capabilities as a passer have to do with the conditions. Clearly, Buffalo felt Allen could throw it well enough in these conditions. I saw what happened in Mac's first pass. I did not have any confidence that he could throw the ball in that wind. Certainly not into the wind.
No, and by the way, credit to Jonnu Smith for coming down with that thing. That was unbelievable.
That was a great catch.
No,
there's got to be a snapshot of him like doing the jump man somewhere.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So
one more thing too, Paulie. I guess what I'm disappointed about a little bit was that I felt like they were setting them up for some play action, for some short stuff, because Matt can throw short. I don't want to downplay the weather, but I think he's pretty good at the short passing game, which I think they could have been able to hit some stuff.
We're showing the pass to Jonnu Smith, and this was a short pass. That pass went less than 10 yards.
Yeah.
And I think they may have looked at that and said, whoa. I don't know, because he throws a lot of passes with a lot of touch on them. And I just wonder if they said, we're going to make sure that we play this safe. But I'll tell you the times, like Hardy and Hardy was talking about the 3rd and 16 from their own 10. I mean, come on. Rob, I mean, really, come on. Bubba. Yeah,
Wow.
come on. But when we go to Mike's possession that he's talking about, you're up 11-10? First down, 1st and 10 from the 14. Ramondre Stevenson has got him just on their heels. And then he loses 2 yards on first down. Okay, I'm fine that you continued to run him. He was pounding away into 8 and 9 man fronts, and he was just moving the piles. Okay, now they finally said, okay, we're going to stop this. Matt Milano shoots a gap, buries him 2 yards deep in the backfield, 2nd and 12. Something different has to be called on the next play, and they came back with the same play, and Milano did the same thing. Only this time he lost like 4 yards. And that's where I'm with Mike. I think one of those needed to be a play action, quick out of his hands. Even if you don't get, let's say for argument's sake, it goes really bad and you turn it over and you lose the field goal. You still got the lead, and now they're still backed up inside their, provided that doesn't turn into a pick six. Like, I think I would have rather have seen a couple of throws.
Yeah, like they were building towards something a
I
little
did
bit. Like
too.
it was part of like I kept waiting for it, especially like when you mentioned Milano shooting through the line. Like I mean, they just seemed like they were like, we know you're running it.
They
every
finally
time.
got to the point where they
We're
said,
we're
not letting you run the ball anymore. And that's why, Stevenson's numbers, that's why they are what they are. 3.5 a carry, because they finally said, we're not just going to let you do this anymore.
Yeah. See, like even that one, I know it didn't pick up the first down, but it's the screen passes, little stuff here and there. That's when I talk about the red zone, I think that's a little bit what I mean. Like there had to be some little stuff, but they had what they had their plan, and it obviously got the win. So that's what it's all about.
All right, let's go out to Buffalo. We're joining us now on the Patriots Postgame Show presented by Cyber Reason. Deatrich Wise after the 14-10 win over the Bills. Deatrich, thank you so much for being on with me, Hardy, and Mike Dussault, and Paul Perillo. Congrats on the win. And now we can hear you. Sorry, that was my mistake, Deatrich. That was on me.
Wow, are you even getting the players to ignore you?
I've got them. No, we've got you now. Can you hear us?
A little bit. You sound far away. One more time.
Well, okay. we are in Foxborough.
Yeah. Is it so windy there that it's even affecting the phone call?
Well, it's windy when you get a win in Buffalo. So I guess it's kind of hard for me to hear you right now. But keep talking.
No, we just wanted to say, congratulations. Thanks for joining us. That was for a crazy, wild game. It was really dramatic, really compelling, and we all agree just a great victory for you guys tonight.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that.
Teachers, how did you feel on the final drive there? It was a big stop for you guys to seal the win. I know you almost had Josh there. You jumped a little short of him. Just what was the overall defense's mindset coming into that last drive?
Man, pretty much just stop him from scoring, stop him from running around, and if he does throw, guard the receivers. That's kind of what our mindset was, keep him in the pocket and stop the run. So anytime they did that, we had our job hand out for us for stopping the run and hitting him anytime he threw.
Deatrich, I guess I'll just ask the obvious. Just how challenging was it to play, even defensively, in such an unconventional kind of a game?
Well, what do you mean unconventional? I don't know what you mean.
Mostly running. You guys only attempted 3 passes the whole night. Obviously, it was a field position game. When the teams were going into that wind, it seemed like it changed the game plans a little bit. How challenging were the conditions?
It's always cold and windy in Foxborough, so we knew going into this game it was going to be a run-heavy game, and that's kind of what we planned for, practiced for, and prepared for. So we knew coming out that they're going to run the ball, and we had one job to do. Now it's to stop the run and force them to be one-dimensional.
Deatrich, I want you to back me up on my theory on that play that Mike mentioned where you almost had Josh Allen toward the end. I say that you would have had him if the NFL would allow you guys to play football, but it looks like you're trying to reach him up so you wouldn't go low on him because right? You had to reach up. See, I knew it.
You can say that, yeah.
So
you settled it.
But
I tell you what, the pressure was still on, and you made it very uncomfortable for them tonight.
Most definitely.
All right, so Deatrich, if you can get me my Arkansas pullover that you've been promising me for like 3 years, I'll make sure you get credit for a sack on that.
See what? Next time I see you, I'm gonna have them.
I know. I haven't even been in the locker room in 2 years. I don't see you anymore. I miss you.
Hey, congrats on the win tonight. Thanks for taking the time, and safe travels back.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
All right, take care.
All right,
that's one of the all-time great kids in that locker room.
Oh.
And And to me, they're always kids.
Well,
at this
yeah,
point.
yeah. When we're doubling up in age, Paul. You and I, we can say that. A big thank you to Microsoft for getting the player on there for us, which I've always called him Deatrich. You said Deatrich at the end.
No, Deatrich.
Okay.
It's like CH is pronounced.
Okay,
Dietrich.
I've always said it that way. I thought you threw
that
a
is
Deatrich
how he pronounce it.
a little bit.
I misspoke. If
No,
I
it's fine. It's fine. You guys are friends. Wow. Talking about hoodies and whatnot. Microsoft Windows 11.
For a quarter zip.
The official. I don't blame you. I like those too. The official operating system of the NFL and the New England Patriots. The all-new Windows 11 is here to bring you closer to what you love, like the Patriots Postgame Show. Learn about all the awesome new features of Windows 11 at windows.com.
When you did that next-gen thing, you had the numbers for when you? Did you not?
No. I just seen a tweet.
30 of 49 plays.
So they went jumbo.
They went 6 offensive linemen. 30 out of 49 plays.
Jumbo.
Wow.
I don't want to do one of those when hosts aren't listening. I remember you talking about next-gen stats. I think I kind of
he's fine.
blacked out at that point.
Hey, guys, I know you've been holding on, since the start of the postgame, but we have to step aside. The break is real quick. So when we come back, Steve, Christian, Dusty, all your calls right away here on the Patriots Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Cyber Reason.
Attacks requires seeing in the dark, understanding and ending every threat to your organization on computers, mobile, and the cloud. It takes Cyber Reason. End cyber attacks from endpoints to everywhere.
TouchView Interactive is here to support your hybrid learning, distance learning, and video conferencing needs with easy-to-use tools that allow end users to collaborate, interact, and present seamlessly. TouchView Interactive offers a comprehensive line of accessories and software to support your audio-visual needs. Outfit your classrooms and presentation spaces with the future of interactive display technology. Visit touchview.com for more info. Offered by the Oakers Company, celebrating 100 years of service and support.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
And then the rematch, excuse me.
Deuce.
You got a banana down the tailpipe there?
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
All right, right to the phones here, 855-PATS-500. Patriots get the win tonight in Buffalo, 14-10. Steve in Miami, and we appreciate your patience. Thanks for holding on. Welcome into the Patriots postgame show. What's up, Steve?
Oh, I'm number one. Whoa, watch out. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Really good.
A couple of things. First of all, has there ever been a victory by a quarterback who only threw 2 passes? I can't imagine.
I'm sure we'll be getting those stats over the next couple of days.
Seen it pop up yet.
Yeah,
3 pass attempts. I think they had one that had 2 in it, right? When they put that graphic up.
Oh, that's right. They did do a full-blown graphic, but I don't know what year it was. It's been a long
1936. I don't know. Like, you would think.
I don't know, but
back before the forward
pass.
But
do I win the pool?
What for? What?
Did I predict that we'd get that call tonight?
Well, there was a 2-pass game in 1974, Steve.
And who was the quarterback?
I don't know.
Joe Ferguson.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
But was that a winning quarterback?
Yep.
I don't know.
Wow.
He's
a
lefty.
Couple things. If this doesn't give Bill Belichick the coach of the year, I don't know. But the question I have, and you guys brought it up, what is it? The special teams coach who put N'Keal Harry out there?
Bill Belichick said he wanted a guy who could handle the ball well.
Wow. Okay, but this still has to give him without the edge in coaching. coach of the year.
Okay, so
now hold on 1 second, Steve, because I'm going to try to find. Okay, here it is. He was asked about putting N'Keal Harry back, and Belichick said it was all about having a good ball handler back there. So it was. Wow.
Okay. I don't know if he's ever proven that he's a good ball handler, but okay.
That's what I said, Steve.
I would tend to agree with you, Steve, but you know what? That's what the coach said.
I mean, there's so many other players that they could have put back there, and to put. I mean, this guy doesn't. All he does is block. He doesn't even go off for passes anymore, really.
Steve, I agree with you. So it's gone from lock of coach of the year to under consideration or strong consideration.
No, I still have to put him as coach of the year. I mean, nobody at 2-4, nobody expected him to be top in the AFC right now.
Steve, thank you for the call. For this team to have rattled off 7 straight wins after starting the season 2-4, you're right. I'm sure we even said it. It's like, well, if they make it to say they're not going to win 7 in a row. Let's not be stupid.
Yeah,
I agree, and I would certainly have fallen into that.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I mean, a lot of people I'm seeing a lot of go on, and Steve just said it, praising the job within this game. I think the whole picture is impressive. This game, it was what it was. I'm not like jumping over, doing backflips over what they did. I think it was effective, but I just think the overall performance this year, what they've done, how they even played in the losses, that's what's been impressive. It's the body of the work for me.
I think the difference is, and again, these are ethereals and these are kind of ambiguous, and I know it drives Paul nuts, but I think even Paul would agree with me. If you take Bill Belichick and his staff into a game where you say, well, it's really a toss-up, but the conditions what they are and all these X factors, someone has to win it. I don't think there's a coaching staff in the league, maybe in all of sports, that has more of a not only a mindset, but an actual belief. Well, if it's a toss-up, then we'll win it. We will win this game. If we have anything to say about it, we will win the game.
I picked the Patriots pregame largely for that reason.
Yeah.
I said the game is going to unfold in an unconventional way if the conditions are as bad as everybody's telling us. Now, it turned out they weren't as bad as everybody was telling us, but they were pretty bad. I'll take the Patriots' chances.
Yeah.
I'll take the Patriots with Belichick. Now, ironically, in terms of grievous coaching mistakes that cost their teams tonight, he might have had the bigger one, putting Harry back there in that spot. Almost turned into the N'Keal Harry game, as opposed to the
Harper's muff.
It was almost Harry's muff.
Enough about the muffs.
And what?
Because I honestly don't think the game would have been anywhere near as close coming down the stretch if that play didn't occur.
I agree. Let's go to Christian in Los Angeles. Christian, what's up? You're on the Patriots Postgame show.
Yeah, hey, you guys. What a great football night. I know a lot of people, they don't like the rough, gritty, ugly football weather stuff. They like to see the passing and stuff, but
I just like to see offense in general. Running, passing, I'll take it. I'll take anything.
Good. I'm sorry?
I just wanted to, I like to see, it doesn't have to be like crazy passing numbers, but when the teams have like 200 yards of offense, that's not all that fun to me.
Right. Well, that's you. I think the casual fan, right? They like the high scoring game, but for the really purist, this is a really good game, is what I'm trying to say here. And so, on to what the Patriots did. I think I called the other day, and I think I said they're probably going to stuff the run. They're going to put a spy on Josh, most likely double team Diggs, take him out, and put a good guy on Sanders. And guess what happened, guys?
None of that.
You guys totally were like poo-pooed it, but I think the Patriots
Christian,
showed today.
There were 50-mile-an-hour winds tonight. The teams could not perform their offense the way they wanted to. Neither team. They couldn't throw the ball with any kind of precision whatsoever.
Okay.
So to sit here and tell me about the defensive backs in the way that they attack, I mean, you could not throw the ball effectively tonight. It's as plain and simple as that. The Patriots won because they were tougher. They ran the ball more effectively than Buffalo did. They didn't win because they took Stephon Diggs out of this game.
No.
Or because they took Emmanuel Sanders out of the game. The weather took those guys out of the game.
Good enough for me. I'll take the win. I'm saying they did that fine, good. But I think what we're really seeing happen around the league here is we're seeing that there actually is some proof that there is a Patriot way. We thought it was Tom Brady, he's the Patriot way. Now we're finding out that just this team has winning DNA. And there's something about the way they practice. There's something about what happens, because it's not difficult to figure out. Do your job, execute well, be disciplined, right? Every coach says that. But there's something different about the DNA of the Patriots. And I want you guys can we talk about just that thing?
I do not believe that there's a separate entity that exists with this team that has its own DNA. I think your coach is much better than most every coach in the league.
I think you have the best coach who's ever done it.
I think you have the best coach. But no, I'm not going to give it a separate spirit animal and say that something else is there. And by the way, and Steve, thanks for the call. Call back, please. Next pregame or Christian in L.A. Excuse me,
who called to chastise us during the week and then called to blar us, even though none of the things that he said were going to happen.
I really despise the whole. If you're a football purist, that was a great game. It's okay to look at something you love. I use golf as my touchstone for a lot of stuff, and if it's like really crappy conditions at the British Open and people aren't hitting good shots and they can't, but a golf purist will love this. No. If you're,
do people say that in golf?
They say it all the time. And Maz was one of the first people to say, like, oh, by the way, I think the U.S. Open sucks because they make the course too hard and it's not golf. To me, watching that tonight, I think he's onto something.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that.
I agree with it too. We are not here to play football and then coach football and to do other. We're essentially doing this, even us who work in the business and here doing the Patriots show. For the most part, it's still entertainment. This is going to
sound silly, and Mike in particular probably will scoff at me, and that's okay because I deserve to be scoffed at. The last two drives that Buffalo put together sort of saved the night. Because prior to that, there wasn't a single drive in the game worth even discussing.
No, that's my point.
Yeah. At least Buffalo showed you at the end of the game they could put a couple of plays together. Now, even then, it was not really conventional offense. It was a great throw and catch down the sideline to get the last drive going to Diggs. But prior to that, it was like a scramble for 20-something yards for Allen. I think there was a horse collar tackle on a Hightower that set up the goal-to-go situation. Like, it wasn't really conventional, but at least they completed a few passes in sequence, and it looked like offense. Other than that, the Patriots had one drive. That was the Ramondre Stevenson drive that they ended up kicking the field goal. I mean, there was nothing no one wants to play football the way they had to play tonight.
No, and it's just a little obnoxious for Christian or anyone else to look at a game or a sport or an like that and say, well, a real fan, somebody who truly understands, will say that's a good game. It's okay to walk away from a game, especially when your team wins, and say, I'm happy they won. There were some good moments, a couple of drives, but overall, if that was the NFL every week, it would be right up there with curling. Yeah. People wouldn't watch it.
And it's okay, to say it was really exciting at the end and it was close and compelling, while at the same time saying it wasn't really, aesthetically pleasing in any way.
Yeah.
And because it was close and it came down to
some excitement.
Those two red zone drives,
especially
if you
got an alarm going off.
Yeah. Although whatever. But the way that those two drives got down in the red zone, it was incredibly compelling, but there just wasn't enough of that during the course of the game.
I just want to throw a little love towards Devon Godshaw, who Paul put on the ups tonight. I don't know what this means exactly, but it sounds good. Next Gen Stats says Godshaw led the Patriots defense, limiting the Bills to their worst inside tackles run performance of the season, -14 RYOE. Not sure what that means, but Godshaw recorded a 56% run tackle rate, the highest for a nose tackle in the game in the last 6 seasons. So I don't know exactly what
that's a high tackle rate for an interior
rate
defensive lineman, 10 tackles. I didn't even realize he had that many tackles when I put him on the good list, but I know he showed up tonight.
He did, and that's why I just want to read it, because I think it's a lot of times it's a jumble, like the run game. It's like a bunch of guys kind of run into the middle, and when you're watching it live, you kind of don't know. But he certainly was a standout tonight. So hey, it's a big piece, especially Jonathan Taylor. 2 weeks
and the two red zone stops that they came up with, right? they both started off with a run play that resulted in minimal gains. So before, it's first and goal, I think, from the 7 after the Hightower horse collar.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a play that I think it was Moss that had a chance to bounce it wide. And instead he stuck it inside. And they end up getting nothing on that play. And so now you got to throw. And the same thing happened the second time. It was, I want to say maybe from like the 10 or 12 yard line.
Before the
Dawson Knox, perhaps being on the take tonight.
On the up list.
He was on the up list tonight for sure for the Patriots. They ran the ball to, I think, Moss or Singletary for a yard or two. Again, before you can even, you don't pop one for 8 there and set up a short yardage thing. Now I could do whatever I want. Those 2 run stops right there in that situation in the red zone to start off those 2 possessions that forces Buffalo to throw. Yeah. And ultimately, they couldn't throw it into the end zone.
Another quick update. Thank you to Nick Bakopanos, I believe is his name here on Twitter, relaying an Adrian Phillips tweet, all caps, "Thank you, God!" ! So perhaps speculation that he maybe avoided a major injury.
All right, good.
Or he's just really
Did anybody actually see what happened?
No.
Because there was it was like the 2-minute warning. He made a great play. And then all of a sudden, it didn't seem like it was anything wrong, and then he was down. I don't know if maybe he got hurt and didn't realize it right away, or if he was sort of, like, as he got up, maybe hurt himself. And I think they might even speculated maybe celebrating. I don't know what happened.
It's weird.
By the way, any talk of the Patriot way or being in the Patriot DNA.
Yeah, that really got you, huh?
It really did, because I think it does a disservice to the guys on the field.
You know who hates that?
Who?
Bill Belichick.
Well, if there's anything in the DNA, it's in the DNA of Bill, whether he wants to admit it or not, and maybe the owners who had the foresight, wisdom, luck to hire the guy way back when, also draft the greatest quarterback of all time, have them for 20 years, and then giving him the job of coach and GM. There it is, and he's trained his whole staff and coached up the players for years. But don't chalk it up to some mystical presence with the team, because that
surrounds us.
That's actually kind of an insult. It's like, anybody can do it. It's the Patriot way, see?
Bill said once during a press conference that really stuck out. Was like, I have never, and no one in this locker room has ever used the term the Patriot way.
Would like to know where it started. But, I mean, I thought it was funny. Like, he was laying all that out, and it's just, he's the best coach of all time. Like, this is what happens. Like, you spend so much time digesting Brady and Belichick and drafting, and did they get enough Super Bowls and weapons, and you just.
So let me. Can I just turn the tables on this for a second?
Sure.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, the last drive, 3rd or 4th down. Okay, let's go with the 4th down one. That Beasley breaks free coming across the middle, and Josh Allen clearly went backside. Let's say he throws it to Beasley, that's a touchdown, and you lose 17-14 or 18-14 if they go for 2. There's nothing really different about the game. Everything unfolded exactly the same way. You had the same call on that last play, except for he threw it to somebody different.
Yeah.
Like, I still think that Bill Belichick is the greatest that's ever done it. I still think that his approach largely succeeded tonight.
Yeah,
but that's just how
right. That's
how
about
fine it was. Like, it's like, in other words, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think Sean McDermott had a bad approach tonight. Like, I think that it was a challenging night all around for everybody involved. The Patriots found a way to make one more play at the end to win the game.
Yep. Mental toughness.
And I don't think, like, to your point, Hardy, I don't think it's a mystical play. No. I just think the last play they made.
Right. And I mean, even go to the games they lost. It's similar.
The last play the other team made in the games they lost.
They were close. It was
right. The Bucks, the Bucks were able to make a play, to get off the field, and then they ended up missing the field goal.
Yeah.
And so I guess the Patriots didn't make the play that day.
Right.
And then the Dallas game, obviously, the Cowboys went right down the field and scored a touchdown in overtime. They made the plays to win.
Yeah. Miami, same kind of situation. Right. Fumble, could have got a stop, couldn't. It's a few plays, but I think we overcomplicate it and we make it kind of more grand than it is, but it's.
But tonight it truly was a few plays. There are only a few plays of substance in this game.
Yeah, the 64-yard touchdown. I would say there was a handful of runs by Stevenson on that drive in the third quarter that I thought changed it. The quarterback sneak, which was really close. I know what McDermott was doing there, because it certainly seemed like there was a pile that had stopped, and then all of a sudden the referee's running in from the side, like short of the yellow line, and then all of a sudden the ball's beyond the yellow line. That was weird.
It was weird because it seemed like when they blew the whistle, Mac was just kind of standing up, maybe a yard short, and then as the scrum continued.
Every time we talk about a play, they give us a replay right away. They're right on it.
How do they do it?
They're right on it. Back there, he gets stacked up right here, and the guy's coming in from the top of the screen, short of. You could see the referee where he's situated. He's short of the line. And then all of a sudden,
he flies through 3 yards.
He's running in like the whistle's already blown, and all of a sudden he goes forward like 2 yards. I understand why McDermott challenged that. I know people.
It's tough to see it.
People will always tell you those are foolish challenges because they almost never overturn those spots.
But you never know because you might get that one random camera angle, and all of a sudden
they pop around.
This
play to me was worth
like,
challenging for a couple of reasons. One, it allowed the Patriots to run out the remainder of the clock going into the wind in the third quarter.
Right. Yep. Oh, huge.
And I think that's why McDermott was looking at it as being such a vital play. That's a fourth down play. They don't get it. Then Buffalo has 2 more minutes to see if they can go with the wind and get it down in scoring position. So I think that was a worthwhile challenge. Again, Patriots made the plays to win the game.
Yeah, and watching that on replay when they added the audio, the whistle was real late. They were allowing him the fall forward, and they were allowing.
But I thought the whistle came before.
I thought the whistle was before that,
the fall
late,
forward.
like they were telling, cut it out.
Wrong again, gentlemen. Let me tell you something. The more I think about it,
let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something else. On that 3rd and 16 on their own 10, the more I think about it,
should have thrown a bomb.
They should have thrown it. Then you're talking about a night when it's like, oh, it's field position, Rob.
He was really
dummy.
Mad.
The 3 yards you're going to pick up on the run that you've been picking up all night, that's the difference maker. By all means, you can't afford to not pick up 3 more yards by running the ball in that play as opposed to trying to go downfield just once.
No, I'm saying you don't want to give them the ball deep in your territory because that's the only way they're going to score. You did that once. That's how they got their touchdown.
How are you going to give them the ball deep in your territory?
By turning it over.
You're not going to turn it over. You're going to throw it deep.
You couldn't throw it deep into that. Matt couldn't throw it deep.
That was with the tailwind at that point. You had the tailwind on that.
Yeah, you're right.
I know I'm right.
You're all right. They were going in with the wind.
Yes, thank you. Dusty in Florida. What's going on, Dusty? Dusty? Yes, go ahead, please.
It's amazing that you can't take calls.
I hate you so much.
I know you do.
Not you, Dusty. Are you there?
Dusty.
No, gone. Fine. No. Good. We'll go to Andrew in Ohio. Andrew will not let me down. You're on the Patriots Postgame Show. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Excellent.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, I got to admit, man, these guys, you guys are kind of hating on the run game, but I feel like they're kind of holding off, their cards for the long-term game. I mean, you have the potential to see these guys 3 times, tonight being the first, and the potential in the playoffs. I kind of feel like they were just kind of holding their cards back a little bit, and especially knowing with the wind that they're dealing with, keep it on the ground, ground and pound. And I really kind of felt like that was kind of smart, seeing we might see these guys a couple of times.
Andrew, they were not playing possum. Did you not once in that game tonight, while you're watching it, wish that they would throw the ball?
Oh, of course. I mean,
okay, that's all we're doing. That's all I'm doing. We're not. I'm not hating on the run game. I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, call me nuts, maybe 5 pass attempts as opposed to 3. That's all. Just a couple more. Just a couple.
They ran into 8 and 9 man boxes and picked up over 200 yards. I don't think anybody on this show is hating on the run game.
We're not hating on the run game.
The run game won you the game tonight. The run game and red zone defense. 1 for 4 for Buffalo in the red zone, and you ran the ball for over 200 yards.
Your question, Paul, is more about, does this concern you with regard to their approach? And I think Sil in Seattle has a similar concern. He goes, I don't know who's going to say it, but maybe be alarmed that the quarterback was essentially removed from the game by the weather, because Gillette historically is pretty crummy weather too. Just saying, asking for a friend.
Well, that's
type of
why.
thing.
See, that's what I'm trying to extrapolate. Was it so bad tonight that we can completely disregard the approach, or is this something that we can expect? Like when the Patriots play in December, in any kind of inclement weather, can we expect, say, 15 or 20 passes? Is that what will be the norm? Like, I understand tonight was an extreme 3. I don't expect 3. I didn't expect 3 tonight. But is it something that we can look to in the future and say, I don't think he's the guy that's going to be able to throw it 40 times in really adverse conditions? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that. We'll have to wait and see.
I think it's okay for it to be a question, though.
Yeah, and I think someone asked that. At what point do you sort of feel this is what he is in the weather? And I said, like, I wouldn't draw a conclusion off of 1 or 2 games.
And this is extreme. That was an extreme.
That was extreme.
Or so you guys say.
I know. You didn't really want to buy it.
And it's okay to say, great win. In a game where
it was a great win.
It was a great win.
Kidding?
You know, a game where it's kind of a toss-up. Feel good that the Patriots are still the team that says, well, if it's a toss-up, I mean, we're going to win it.
You're the top seed in the AFC. You're the top seed in the AFC East, and I just think back of how they lost last year in Buffalo with Cam Newton going in and he fumbled it away, and just how miserable that was. These were the division champs last year. It's a huge one.
More on the what it could mean for the Bills coming up, along with your phone calls and emails. 855-PATS-500, webradio@patriots.com. The Patriots Postgame Show is brought to you by Cybereason. Great defenders don't just play on the field. They're also protecting your company and data. Cybereason is on a mission to end ransomware and keep your business undefeated against cyber attacks. Learn more at cybereason.com/ransom.
It all starts. It all starts now.
TouchView Interactive is here to support your hybrid learning, distance learning, and video conferencing needs with easy-to-use tools that allow end users to collaborate, interact, and present seamlessly. TouchView Interactive offers a comprehensive line of accessories and software to support your audio-visual needs. Outfit your classrooms and presentation spaces with the future of interactive display technology. Visit touchview.com for more info. Offered by the Oakers Company, celebrating 100 years of service and support.
That looks awful. Football's back and it's time to go big. Pepsi pulled pork sandwiches are game day greatness. Now we're ready for game day. Check out some more awesome recipes on madeforpatriotswatching.com.
Defending against cyber attacks requires seeing in the dark, understanding and ending every threat to your organization on computers, mobile, and the cloud. It takes Cybereason. End cyber attacks from endpoints to everywhere.
An active lifestyle means you never stop moving. That's why only Theragun devices are designed to release your body's deepest muscle tension, so you can do the things you love. You only have one body. Make it a TheraBody.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
I agree with Deuce. I think Max should have been on the good list.
Why don't you two do the show?
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
It was Aaron in Wales who said, remember my question of the over-under 80% rushing plays tonight?
Yep, already brought you up there, buddy.
Scrappy game. At the Bills, we'll take a win in any circumstances. He says he was low on his projection. You were. That is insane. What is the actual percentage? Total number of offensive plays?
Was it 94?
It's too late for me to do that kind of math.
No, I mean, I've got my little percentage calculator right here on my phone.
I don't know what the plays were, though.
What were total number of offensive plays? I know Deuce has that number in front of him.
Hold, please.
Yeah, go ahead. It's no big deal. Well, while you're doing that, we'll talk to
49.
What's that?
49.
So 3 out of 49.
Let's see.
6%.
I was right. 94%.
Math.
Ish.
3 from
carry the 2.
49. 93.8%. 88%.
94.
Look at us. Math at midnight. Pretty impressive.
I think I probably saw that on Twitter at some point.
Richie in Somerville, what's up? You're on the Patriots postgame show. Hello. Richie.
Oh, Hardy. Richie! Don't do this to me.
Ricardo Valenzuela and his flying guitar.
Oh, boy.
Making money.
Getting a little punchy here.
Let's go to Fisk in Florida. Fisk. Congrats.
Fisk.
Hey.
Hi.
All right, you guys. Ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. So the one thing that made us win this game wasn't Mac Jones, definitely Bill Belichick, but that offensive line. Nobody's talking about the offensive line. That was huge. Mac Jones does 3 passes, was still able to do it. But the rushing game, time after time, when the defense knew it was coming. I saw it. It was rare, especially with Brady. We're never going to see this again. But it was the weather, and I'm with you. I'm kind of worried. We live in Foxborough. We root for them. Mac Jones in the playoffs to get the number 1 seed. It's at home. Can he do that cold weather? Can he do that Snow Bowl game that we've seen? Can we see what Brady did out of the rookie? And I know it's unfair, but the rookie has the number 1 seed right now in the NFL. No one's talking about that.
Yeah, no one.
This is huge, you guys.
All right.
And I need you guys to all answer on this. We cannot downplay this. I know we're used to it.
What's your question?
What's the question?
It's not a question.
You just said you need an answer.
I'm done. I do like his tone though. If he wasn't in such a state, I would have just had him say, you know, that art contest, I won $500 in prizes. That's great, mijo. With the baby coming, you that money in art lessons.
It's like I'm watching the movie.
So just
no one's talking about them being the number 1 seed.
I just want to recap for those of you listening at home, because I know there are still some of us still involved in the post-game show. Things that we're not talking about, okay? No one's talking about the offensive line. One of my goods was what? The interior offensive line.
That was one of your
Shaq
goods.
Mason, Teddy the K, and David Andrews,
Right.
where they got the majority of their yardage right up the gut, right?
Right.
No one's talking about it, but that's what we talked about already. No one's talking about the number 1 seed. No one's mentioned it. Scott Hansen, I wanted to suspend operations yesterday when the Ravens game went final. He couldn't get to that slate fast enough. The New England Patriots are now the number 1 seed. No one's talking about it.
In his defense, no one is talking about Mac Jones being a rookie quarterback. That has not been
Hadn't heard that.
That has not been brought up, and no one has compared him to Tom Brady ever.
God. This is a classic.
That's one thing I don't want people to do, actually. I wish
Because I
they
remember
would
all
stop.
those games that Tom Brady won while throwing 3 passes.
This has got to be a classic Matt Judon post-game quote. Hats off to the offense. Besides Mac, he didn't really do nothing. Matt Judon.
That's my favorite quote of the year, right there.
Like it is.
Because to me, that's one of those quotes that's an indication of just how tight that locker room is.
Oh, yeah. That he can bust some chops in a press
when
conference.
you know you can bust the chops of the quarterback like that, that's a strong indication that you have a really good locker room.
I got a question for you, Paulie. You posed the question of, do you have some concerns about Mac? And I think it's a worthy question that will be discussed. But the same token, does this now give you some confidence that this, as we've said many times tonight, that this Bills defense knew the run was coming, and you had a rushing offense that could put up over 200 yards in a game where you knew they had to run? Does that give you some kind of, hey, I think this is something we can lean on?
Yeah, I would feel better if they scored some points. They didn't. And you could argue they might have only gotten 6 points if they didn't bust one for 64 yards.
Very true.
But I would feel a lot better about it if they scored some points.
Apparently there was something with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde in their post-game when asked if they were embarrassed by the run defense
they looked
tonight.
Agitated.
They look very agitated. I have not been able – I haven't had a chance to hear it yet, but apparently –
I think it was something along the lines of, like, were you embarrassed? And they were like, what kind of question is this? They got a little butthurt about
That's a
that
tough
one.
question to ask.
Yeah.
I mean,
were you embarrassed by your performance tonight? I mean, that is kind of a tough question.
it's
if that was exactly what
serious.
it was.
Like if the Patriots had given up 200 yards and how many yards did Tennessee get last week?
270.
Were they embarrassed? They gave up 14 points.
I guess the difference
14.
And the difference is this, Paul. The Patriots gave up 270. Did they have 9 guys in the box? I mean,
but my
point, to me,
point is
that's a legitimate question of those guys tonight.
No, were you disappointed in the run defense? Were you embarrassed that you gave 14 points? I don't blame them for being upset.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
That to me is the bottom line. The Patriots fire back last week. We allowed 13 points. Yeah, yards are great. We allowed 13 points. Yeah, they got some yards on us tonight. They creased us for 64 in a touchdown.
Right.
We allowed 14 points. We expect to win games when we allow 14 points. Right?
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Todd in Canada, Patriots Postgame Show. It's presented by Cyber Reason. Hi, Todd.
Hey, it's Tony.
Oh, sorry. Tony in Canada. What's up?
Wow, what a great game, eh, guys?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one thing that I think, and this is more of a comment, not really a question, but I'm a little surprised that you guys didn't put Bill Belichick on your good list. And I'll tell you why. It takes a lot of guts, not just to formulate that game plan, but to actually stick to it throughout the game the way he did. Because, I mean, I was just like the rest of you guys. I was saying, when is Mac going to throw the ball? But Bill just kept to the game plan. As long as we were keeping ahead, he just kept with it. And
I almost said that exact thing as one of my goods. The ability to stick with it, and maybe not Bill Belichick by name. I maybe said Bill and Josh McDaniels, because I think, if we're talking about the division of duties on this team right now. I think my gut tells me Bill is spending maybe more time in the defense and allowing Josh to do more of the offense. But yes, the actual decision to stick with it, and as frustrating as it was at times, it resulted in the win. So, sorry, can't be called, won't be called out for that one, Tony. Not going to allow it.
Hardy, not having it tonight.
Not really not. Well, it's so late,
Hey,
and that
who am I to argue?
That fire alarm was so loud. And I would like to thank Bose, by the way, who is
Right.
proud to be the official sound and official headphones of the New England Patriots and the NFL. Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds, they rule the quiet. Learn more at Bose.com. But these noise-canceling headphones, I put them on
too.
while that was going on, and they work. They absolutely work for that. It's you're not going to go to a shooting range with these, but for blocking out a fire alarm, they work. So thank you to Bose.
I wonder if anyone was wondering, should you guys have left the building maybe?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we were not supposed to be in here, 100%.
Yeah, the last time it happened was that game against Houston.
Yeah, we missed the end.
And we did leave.
Sitting outside freezing our keys.
Because someone came in and told us we needed to leave.
Yeah, so, it was somebody from down the hall,
frantic with a walkie-talkie.
Well, I think they went to KSP and they said, we got to leave.
Yeah,
because I think there was something going on that night.
Yeah. Kevin in San Francisco.
We have Morel though. He'll make sure that we're all out.
I
safe.
feel safe with Morel here. What's up, Kevin? Thanks for holding. What do you got for us?
Hey, boys. How you doing?
Good.
Exhausted.
So, I have a bone to pick with you first before I get into my comment here. You guys ripping on the man cave. I'm like, I have a man cave, and it's built out behind my garage. And the only reason I have it is I got friends that my wife won't let into my house. so I need to have this thing. It's got a pisser. It's got you name it. It's got a kegerator, everything. And listen, don't disparage it. Anyway,
that sounds amazing.
Awesome.
The next comment.
You know what, Kevin? I would say my knee jerk is to say a real man would just have all that stuff in his house. The friends, I get it.
You got to respect it.
I have a couple of friends who are not allowed in our house, and you know what? They just don't come over. I meet them outside the house.
No, I figured it all out. I got an outside entryway. I got a urinal in there. No, they never have to come up in the house.
It's my wife urinal?
Pleased as punch.
What's it, a trough?
No, it's like a little funnel. I cut a hole through the wall.
Oh, it's a Home Depot bucket. It's not a urinal.
Awesome.
You have an outhouse.
No. It's a funnel with a green hose that goes through the wall and it goes out to the garden. Trust me, you don't have to flush it.
I'm calling the Department of Health in San Francisco. There's no way this is up to code.
Hey, you know what? You go ahead and call them. They won't show up and do anything. All they do is milk it. Collect their checks.
All right. What else?
Awesome.
Well, anyway, I'll take the win tonight, guys, but I got to be honest with you. I love the game plan, but at a certain point in time, if you're going to go and try to get the wind in your favor on second quarter and fourth quarter, you might want to let your guy throw the ball, because I basically think what you did tonight was denute your rookie quarterback. You basically said, we have no faith in you at all. And that's what I'm displeased about it tonight. Anyway.
Okay, so that was Paul, all these things kind of speak to your very open-ended question.
Right. And I'm not as strong about it as Kevin is.
I didn't think you were, but I think it's one of the topics he wanted
and I wonder,
as part of the conversation.
I wonder if things would have been different. So it was the second and fourth quarter, right? The way he just explained that. Second and fourth quarter, the Patriots had the wind. Both times when you got the wind, you had the lead.
Yeah.
So I don't have to throw the ball because I have the lead and the wind.
Oh, I see.
Make them throw it into the wind to come back and beat me.
I see.
And I wonder if, let's say for argument's sake, the first time the Bills got down close, there was, 6 minutes left in the game? 6-7 minutes?
Yeah.
The first red zone stop in the fourth quarter when they tried to kick the field goal and Bass missed it. Mm-hmm. If they score a touchdown there and go ahead, I wonder if maybe the mindset is different on that ensuing drive.
I see what you're saying, Paul, and that's a smart football way to think. It's something that I would agree with. But the Patriots oftentimes do the opposite. When it's like, okay, that's when you would expect them if they were down in that position and they had the win.
Expect us to do.
Well, kind of. Why? That's when you throw it. You throw it when they're not expecting it. They have the lead. They have the win. They could just run the ball here. That's when you could. I'm not saying throw it, 2 out of every 3 plays, but throw it more than 3 times.
I can
That's
tell
all.
They're going to take what I think is a great win, and I think we've said this 100 different ways, just how tough they are and how important this game was and how just how great a win it was. I think people are going to end up, by the end of the week, I think we're going to be sort of exasperated. Like, did you guys watch the same game? Like, to sit here and say what a brilliant game plan of just let's see if we can play keep away and run the clock out without scoring and hope the other team doesn't score. And then ultimately, succeeding by 6 yards and by 14 yards. Like at the end of the game, you won the game, but I think you could argue that Hardy's right. There should have been 3 or 4 times during the course of the game where, Mike, you got your play action. Hardy, you got your let it rip.
Right.
And see if you can make a play to open things up. And they never did because they were never trailing. I just wonder. I'm not concerned about it because I know it was an extreme case. But I just wonder how brilliant the game plan was. And I know we're going to be hit over the head with that all week.
That's what I'm surprised about because I'll honk on BB all day, but I just think it's the circumstances of the game. It's what they had to do. There were certainly some decisions he made to not throw it, but, to continue the conversation, if you're going to tell me that Mac Jones is the rookie of the year, this isn't a game in favor of that. This isn't a notch in the belt.
Deuce, Jamar Chase look on that bomb that he threw up in the air for the Chargers to pick off.
So it's a little. I don't know. I just if you're pumping Mac Jones as rookie of the year and all this, the whole time I thought Mac Jones has fit in perfectly here, and I think he's been great for what they want to do, and they've been able to protect him, and they've been able to manage the whole situation well. But if you're going to tell me that he's the rookie of the year, and he throws 3 passes,
and we can't allow him to throw any passes in the game.
I don't care about the rookie of the year stuff.
If the Bills only threw it 8 or 10 times, I would say, hey, you just couldn't throw it tonight. But the Bills ultimately attempted 30 passes.
And they had some success.
And they threw it well. And Bill said as much after the game. I think they probably surprised them with how well he was able to throw into the wind in the fourth quarter.
A couple of times. I have a very specific technique question that you guys might be able to answer for me. There were a few times tonight when Mac took the ball, and it wasn't like the running backs were in a split formation. They were either in an I and he would turn, and he would do what looked like the beginning of play action. He'd hold the ball way out to his left with his back to the offensive line, with no running back there. I'm like, were they trying to fool with this? And he would hold it out there for what seemed like an inordinate amount of time before just turning and then giving the ball to whoever the back was, probably Ramondre, right behind him in the I formation.
Yeah, it's like the two different ways, right? Like you're like this,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. I think it's like counter action.
Yeah, it was, but it was a couple of times, and it was so deliberate. And I'm like, is that the wind, like forcing him to be that slow and deliberate with that movement?
I don't think so. I think
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
I think they're trying to get an angle on the blockers, and I know what you're talking about. But I think they're trying to get
the
everybody
flow.
to take a step that way,
Yes.
and then they go back that way.
But
and
they weren't biting on it. It didn't look like.
Well, I mean, they ran for 200 yards. They must have been biting on a few of them.
Okay, then it worked.
I don't know.
There we go.
that.
Look at this. They got it right
I don't
here.
like when you get
who
mad
is
at
doing
me.
this?
I don't like when you get mad at me.
There you go.
No, that's not it.
No, that's not it.
But I like watching film. Like I know what to look for.
Well, there were some of these, and these are some of the shots that I thought were really interesting that ESPN provided tonight. That you could see.
Oh, the end zone cams.
Some of those that third quarter drive was really the only drive the Patriots had all night. It ended with a field goal. You could see some of the blocking just unfold, and Stevenson carrying guys.
Oh, he's a beast. He's getting
oh my God
better every week.
He really is. He really is. He's been really fun.
We might
to
have
watch.
already clinched the #1 seed if we didn't have to sit him out the first 6.
TJ,
I can always find a way.
He's a master. He's a master.
TJ in New Jersey on the Patriots.
That was
postgame.
wasted. Fred's not even here to get mad at me.
So good.
You can say it again this week.
So
I won't.
good. TJ, what's up, buddy?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Wondering if you guys thought the Bills made a strategic mistake when they won the coin toss and decided to defer. I would have thought, given the conditions and given they were going to have to rely on some throwing, that they would have picked the direction over deferral. And wondering, what do you guys think Bill Belichick would have done in that situation?
Interesting.
Go ahead, Paulie. You were talking about this.
Well,
all game.
I brought up at the half. I would have deferred the decision to the second half, but I do think it's worth asking the question: would it be worth it at the second half? You go out, okay, now it's my choice. Take the wind. We're going to choose to play this side of the field. That would have been your choice. I ultimately don't think. I think what McDermott was trying to do was get a lead, and it ultimately didn't work because they weren't able to score. I think they only scored 3. No, I guess they scored 10 points. They scored all 10 points going with the win. So they just weren't able to score enough, with the wind. I mean, I think it's worth discussing. I don't think it's a no-brainer. I think it was something Mike and I talked about. Do you try to play it so you get the wind in the fourth quarter? But I think, by deferring, you had that option because you defer your option to the second half, and your option could be, we'll defend this goal.
The other issue I had is I really was confused. I thought they were setting up, with all the running, they were setting up either some screens or some play action. If they were going to just stick with the plan, and I respect that, doesn't it make more sense if you know you're going to run and everyone knows you're going to run to just use a wildcat formation or get Jones out of there and just have another blocker?
That's interesting too.
Correct.
Yeah. And we know they're not afraid to try some new things, but
they've done it a little bit with Damian Harris.
That's why I think that's a good point. Like that kind of goes to what I was talking about with just a little that could have been a fine mix in the red zone, just a little something. But when Harris maybe they had it in the bag when Harris got hurt and they went away from it. I don't know.
All right, Spee in Fresno, what's up, buddy? Thanks for calling. What do you got?
What's going on, guys?
I
would expected to see some dildos kind of flying out in the wind there.
All right, now.
Funny, like boomeranging around.
12:40 doesn't mean no one's listening.
We only get one of those a show.
But safe harbor.
You just used it.
Such a weird outcome. On the one hand, yeah, I'm left praising Bill's stubbornness, if you will, like just that he knew what he wanted to do. But on the other hand, yeah, the Bills were one throw away from winning that game. I mean, it's because it's like, what do you value in your coach? Like the stubbornness? No, I value like the situational acumen. I mean, you didn't learn anything about Mac's readiness situationally. He's got to take a play action kill shot or two earlier in the fourth when they have the field position. You got to. I mean, that's right. That's what we kind of value and are hoping for with this sidelines. It just seems like strangely stubborn. I feel like questions were answered about the team, but not about Mac. Like I'm totally on board. This is a playoff caliber, high compete team, physical, fun to watch even when they're boring, I believe. But yeah, I'm not sure if Mac is being kept in some kind of bubble wrap, or I don't get it. I'm with Mike. He didn't play like the Rookie of the Year today.
No, everything about this game has the weather element hanging over it. The obvious answer to that is Josh Allen, and nobody is comparing Mac's arm to Josh Allen's arm, and we all thought Josh Allen was the better quarterback at the beginning of the year. And right now, if you were to pick a quarterback,
close.
It's not even close.
I don't think.
I don't think it's close either. But if you're just talking about, well, you can't throw the ball on a night like tonight. You can, and it's not going to be perfect. You could have done it. There was an element of not just protecting Mac, I think, going on tonight, but just protecting against a big mistake that could swing the game. And all it was going to take was one play, one score tonight. Yeah. We knew that. Yeah. We knew that from early on.
That throw to Jonnu Smith, I do think, may have
spooked him.
Yeah, may have spooked Josh and Bill a little bit.
All right, and that's fine.
Because that was, I mean, if not for an unbelievable play by Jonnu Smith.
I thought it was going to get picked.
That's exactly the kind of play that gets picked. A floater that's high, goes off a hand, but he was able to keep it close enough to him that he could corral it. That was close. And you see the little floater here. This is just, oof.
I got to say, from 2-4 to 9-4 with a win against the Bills in Buffalo, I am this close to not caring. I think it's a worthwhile conversation, and it's a great open-ended question that Paul brought up, toward the beginning of the post-game show. But I am, I will care more as the days pass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
As you talk more and more about it.
I will care more about
Mac
and the long-term ramifications and what it means.
Yeah, and when I say long, I mean like the rest of this year. Like
yes.
The way Deuce talked about it, like he's your Rookie of the Year candidate, and you didn't think enough of him to even allow him to be a part of this game tonight.
Yeah.
I think it was an extreme case, so I'm willing to sort of dismiss it.
Yeah, but I mean,
but I think it's worth discussing.
I do think it's worth discussing because right now the Patriots are probably, they're going to go to the playoffs. I mean, it's not locked yet, but they're going to go. And I think that's when you start to say, what do they really have and how do they need to play to win? And I think that they are a team in every sense, that they need special teams. They need defense to make plays. I mean, I like that they won tonight without crushing the turnover battle, which is something they have been doing, but it's a valid question because if this team gets down in the playoffs to a good playoff team, can they mount the response? Can they put up 14, 21 points in a half to come back, to get back into a game? We've seen it happen and need to happen plenty of times.
Yeah, I think it would have been fascinating to see what would have happened if the Bills scored a touchdown on the first trip to the red zone.
Yeah, you start throwing? I mean, is that...
So now there's 6.5 minutes left. You're trailing, and the guy hasn't thrown the ball all night.
Right.
Now what? The last time, now you're inside of 2 minutes, so it's desperation, so that's not on Mac. But if there's like 6.5 minutes, plenty of time to run your offense, go down the field and score, it would have been really interesting to see.
You can't do it 4 yards a clip running.
Right. Would have been really interesting to see.
Maybe a couple 8-yard or 10-yard passes.
Yeah. Let's go to Bill in San Diego. What's up, Bill? You're on the Patriots Postgame Show. It's presented by Cyber Reason. What's up?
Hey, gentlemen. Nice to be on the phone with you guys.
Thanks, Bill.
My question, a couple of questions. The first one I'm giving Mac a little bit of a pass, or a lot of a pass, actually, because last year was his first year as a starter. Did he play any games that were in any kind of inclement weather? I mean, this might be his first ever.
No.
And if it's his first
I'm
ever,
sure it was.
They might just
and I give Mac a 100% pass. He didn't have nothing. He didn't do anything in that game tonight. That wasn't his fault that they did what they did. I don't think he did anything wrong in that game at all.
Oh, I don't. But I mean, has he ever played? I didn't follow Alabama much. Did they play?
No.
Any teams that were?
No, he's from Jacksonville, Florida.
Brady came from Michigan. So right. When Brady was thrown out there, he was used to playing in that environment for 2 years. So.
Yeah. But how many games did Brady really play in weather? I mean, I'm sure you're right to an extent, but I mean, 3, 4. I mean, I don't think we're talking about a huge sample size.
He practiced a lot at it as well, though. He probably practiced in cold weather a lot more than Mac ever did.
Sure.
I mean, it's just starting to get really cold up there. So Mac hasn't even had the practice reps in cold weather either.
Yeah, when you're talking about a small sample size, every one of those practices in Ann Arbor for Brady counts for something, and even if it was only a couple of games, it counts towards something. But in terms of his performance tonight, no, I think you said it. He didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't.
Total non-factor.
It's an unknown. It remains an unknown.
Dylan wants to know from you, Deuce, do you think the D-line can handle Jonathan Taylor and the Colts run game?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. We only got 2 weeks for that.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to get it. I think that's the
different,
game. But
much different challenge, by the way. Different offensive line, different team mindset.
But a legit, probably offensive MVP type running back right now. I mean, he's the best in the league without Derrick Henry. So good challenge. Challenge.
He also wants to call BS on that personal foul penalty on the sideline.
Miles
that was
Bryant.
called Miles Bryant. That was a bad call.
I thought it was a bad call. It was a bad spot too. I thought it should have been a first down on the run.
Stefan in Germany checking in. He said, really strange game. The wind created almost irregular conditions. What is an excess timeout, he wants to know. Shouldn't that have been a 10-second rundown or runoff?
I mean, the rules are the way they are. I think that there's, much like a lot of things in the NFL, that are absolutes that I hate. If a player gets injured in the last 2 minutes with a running clock and they have no timeouts, they're charged with an excess timeout and the play clock resets, which, it didn't matter. I think the Bills were going to get the ball back with, inside of 20 seconds, probably at their own 20-yard line, on a punt. But I think that's a lousy way for a game to end, like to have a guy get injured and it's all done to prevent players from faking injuries. But to me, it's a very simple equation. So the clock is running. The play clock is down to, say, 10. There's a guy hurt. Well, don't assume the guy's faking an injury. Get him off the field, replace him, and now everybody's back on the field. Blow the whistle. The clock runs, and the play clock starts at 10, right where it left off. Like, I don't understand why it has to reset to 40. Like, the Bills clearly didn't fake an injury so they would get subjected to an extra timeout.
Yeah.
With 10 seconds on the play clock. Like,
you get into that, like, Vrabel, punt, Belichick,
right.
All that stuff where
Whole
you're
different
pulling
thing.
shenanigans to
and
get
it's like,
some time off the clock.
Because in 1978, the Oakland Raiders intentionally fumbled the ball forward on the last play of a game and kicked it into the end zone and ended up winning a game against San Diego on an intentional fumble. You can no longer recover a fumble on fourth down unless it's the player who fumbled the ball. Like, you can't determine whether or not a guy just threw the ball forward on purpose as opposed to, did he fumble that? Like, if there's a loose ball, anybody has a chance to recover it. It should be a live ball. You know what I mean? Like, these concrete rules that the NFL feels necessary to implement, to me, a lot of them don't make any sense. But another day.
Step aside briefly one more time. Thank you to Bridgestone, the official tire of the New England Patriots, proudly sold at Sullivan Tire. Visit sullivantire.com for locations and offers. We'll be back to wrap up the Patriots postgame show next.
Defending against cyber attacks requires seeing in the dark, understanding and ending every threat to your organization on computers, mobile, and the cloud. It takes cyber reason. End cyber attacks from endpoints to everywhere.
Football's back, and it's time to go big. Pepsi pulled pork sandwiches are game day greatness. Now we're ready for game day. Check out some more awesome recipes on madeforpatriotswatching.com.
An active lifestyle means you never stop moving. That's why only Theragun devices are designed to release your body's deepest muscle tension, so you can do the things you love. You only have one body. Make it a TheraBody.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
But you never looked at Peyton Manning and said, wow, what a howitzer.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
Classic.
Boss man on the road, so he can't join us for the Patriots postgame, but he's been in communication with you, Paul.
Oh, yeah, he's been chiming in the whole night with
That's great.
Random
takes
irrelevance,
Yeah.
as he is wanted
Leave
to
a donut on the counter for me.
That's right.
We'll see him tomorrow, though, too, so he'll be back for the show.
Oh, he will? Oh, great.
I don't know, I hope.
Let's go to John in Connecticut here. A few calls to get to, a couple of emails. Go ahead, John. What do you have for us? Patriots postgame show brought to you by Cyber Reason. 14-10 win over the Bills in Buffalo tonight. Pats pick up their 7th straight win to move to 9-4 on the season. Wow. John, go ahead.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I don't know. So about 15 minutes ago, Sean McDermott says, quote, let's not give more credit than we need to give Bill Belichick in this one. And then he says, when describing, I guess, why he made his return guys inactive, McKenzie and one of the other guys, he said he pointed to Bill Belichick having N'Keal Harry in the return game, and he said he wasn't going to let that mistake happen to his team. Bill seems like a grudge holding type, so I don't know how those comments will be received, but thought those were interesting in Buffalo, coming out of Buffalo.
There's
dumb comments by McDermott.
There's some real salt coming out of Buffalo tonight, and I asked this at the beginning of the show. If you want to go long term, for the rest of this season and beyond for Buffalo, here's a team that we've talked about for a few years now that has been ascending, and they are the defending AFC
taking a step back
champs.
this year. Yeah,
they're taking a step back, and you have to wonder, for if you're the Buffalo players, you're Sean McDermott, you're any of these guys, you're thinking, well, this was supposed to be our time. We were supposed to be, and they had every right to believe that they were now in charge of the AFC East. And what they got was 1 year.
You brought that up early in the show, and my initial reaction was it's sort of irrelevant because of the weather. But now that you mentioned the thing with Poyer and Hyde, sort of getting salty with the media, and now that those comments. Listen, I don't like the whole grudge thing. That to me doesn't matter, but it does speak to the sort of panic going on in their locker room. To your point, like, is Buffalo going to be affected by this now? Moving forward, and maybe you're right. Maybe they are. I think that's. I said to you when the inactives were announced, that's a smart move by McDermott. He knows that returns aren't going to be a big part of this game. Just put somebody back there that's shorthanded, and that ultimately proved to be accurate. But to bring up the fact that Harry was back there and had what happened to him, what are you talking about that for? Yeah. You don't take your eyes off of what's important. You got to regroup your team and get ready for the last 5 weeks.
I mean, I don't want to read this
That's
whole quote,
dumb.
but I got the full McDermott quote from Zach Cox at Ness, and it's a little bit more in context. Let's not give
so
him,
he didn't really say what he
well,
said.
He does start with that. Let's not give more credit than we need to give Bill Belichick in this one. Whether it was Bill or anybody else, they beat us, right? You sit here and you tell me that we start with an average field position, a 40-yard line. He starts with the 23. I'm rounding in both cases. We were 1 for 4 in the red zone. They were 0 for 1. You give me that ahead of time, I'd say I like my chances. I don't think, with all due respect, it's not a Bill Belichick type thing. It's what are you doing with the opportunities you got? What are you doing with the opportunities you got? We turned the ball over on the plus 30-something yard line. Sloppy football. I'm very comfortable in that situation.
Oh, so, that doesn't tell the story at all of what the call said.
Yeah, I mean,
where's the N'Keal Harry comment? Because that's
the
one.
That was not.
That
in
was
this,
the one that sort of rubbed
this,
me the wrong
That was
way.
not in this quote, but yeah.
John in L.A.
Never mind.
John in L.A. emailed in. He first of all says, Hardy, you're awesome. If I could stay up tonight, I'd call in and never hang up on you. But on to my point. I know there's a strategic norm that says you have to have someone back to field punts. But knowing that and other things, I say if the ball happens to roll inside the 5, so be it. It was stupid with Harper in Denver all those years ago, and it was really stupid tonight. I can't imagine if we'd lost, but we didn't. Great, tough win. Love this team. Love you guys, John in L.A.
I just don't know why Gunner wasn't the guy that was furthest back.
I don't.
If you felt like you needed to have Harry out there as an additional guy, then why wasn't he the up guy?
What's wrong with Gunner's hands?
I mean, do you think that they thought?
Was
it into the wind?
N'Keal Harry obviously has better hands than Gunner.
That was with the wind.
They were with the wind.
I mean, he said
I
when
get
someone's sure-handed back there, and for some reason that's N'Keal Harry. That's the part I don't get.
I agree.
Well, and I was thinking about it too.
Strange.
As Paul pointed out, Jacoby Myers, Kyle Duggar, J.J. Taylor out. Jacoby was in. He was the only one that we've seen return punts. So, but they were missing Duggar and J.J. Taylor, who are other guys that return punts.
I was trying to think of other guys that we've seen. I'm not saying Harry never caught a punt at practice, but I don't recall him doing it on a regular basis.
No, me neither. I guess he did do it in college, but
oh yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We got 2 more, I think, or maybe 3 if we can get to all of them quickly. We'll see if we can go.
Lightning round.
Rashawn in Baltimore, lightning round. What do you got?
All right, I got 2 things I want to say. First, Nick Folk. I don't know if y'all put him on the good list.
He's on the good list
permanently.
All right, yeah, he definitely was a key part. He definitely was important in those 2 field goals. And one more thing, my bad list. I gotta say J.C. Jackson. I felt like if that deflected pass on Diggs, if he picks that off, I think the Patriots are giving him a contract extension tonight. But he had a rough game. The numbers might not say it, but Diggs, he's a good wide receiver. But I felt like JC, he could have took that step up tonight. But we got the win. That's all that matters. You guys have a good night.
Rashawn, thank you.
Rashawn. Thanks,
Rashawn. I tell you
Thanks
what.
for staying up with us.
Yeah, if JC were able to grab one tonight, I don't know if it changes anything, but the chorus asking for him to, at the very least, be franchised.
The one that stuck out to me was the one that the throw got taken, the wind blew it back to the inside, and that was him, right? He had one that he broke on a 3rd down in front of Diggs. I think
saw
it was him.
one, yeah.
And the wind clearly blew the ball from the sideline
yes,
back toward
yes,
and it looked like, oh man, he's gone.
Yeah.
That was the one. That was the play, not the deflected.
And he would have been gone.
The deflected one.
Quentin in Las Vegas. What's up, Quentin? You fired up? You're on the.
Oh man, what a game, guys!
Yeah.
I just want to say, first time caller. Love listening to you guys on my way to work, man. So thank you for keeping my commute nice and smooth.
Thank you.
I had a thought and I had a question. So my first thought is the inconsistencies in the AFC, and especially after watching that Chiefs Denver game. I really think that we really do have a shot against these guys. I know you guys said a couple weeks ago that you're afraid of them, but the way they've been playing, I know that game they had was a divisional game. They always play those tough, but the way the Patriots have been able to play consistent over the last 8 weeks has really given me the confidence to think that they can beat them if they do match up in the playoffs. And my question to you guys is, I know you said earlier in the podcast, maybe you were quoting that maybe is this Mac Jones in December with the lack of arm talent. I just want to know, because you guys have such great football knowledge. Do you guys maybe have like someone who you can compare him to in the past who had like maybe a below average arm, who was able to develop that over time and now is known for his rocket?
That's a good one. Where do you work? Where do you work, by the way, Quentin?
I work at Costco.
Nice. All right. You work the graveyard?
No. Well, I just got done watching the game, so I drove back over to my house. But
Gotcha.
I worked the morning shift up there.
Okay, beautiful. Hey, Quentin, thanks for calling in. Don't be a stranger. Yeah, there's somebody who developed a big arm. That's tough.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of examples of guys that had weak arms and developed into strong arms. Now, it's something that can improve, I think, with added strength and technique, mechanics, whatnot. I would just say there's probably a lot of guys that I think had similar kind of arms that have succeeded. And I think a guy like Kirk Cousins, I think, is not necessarily a rocket-armed quarterback. A lot of guys, coming out compared him to Chad Pennington. I do think Pennington's arm when he came out of Marshall was a lot stronger. He had a lot of shoulder issues as a pro. But, yeah, I think I said it in the pregame. I think his arm is an issue, but I think he's worked around it. I think I don't think it's like a deal breaker.
No,
for lack of a better term.
I agree. I mean, it'll improve, and I mean, if this is how he looks decision-making wise as a rookie, what's he look like when he has some confidence, when he's got experience, when it's not a whole mental process? I think that'll help him too. But I think he'll get stronger.
It should improve.
Final call tonight is Matt in California. Matt, what do you have for us to wrap up the postgame show?
Hey, guys. First time, long time. Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you.
Nice.
Look, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was suspenseful, like Super Bowl 53, where you're just waiting for the one or two plays that are going to make the game. And Phillips and Bryant at the end, man, just great plays on the ball. Question for you is, how much credit do you give Jakob Johnson for the production in the run game, especially with all the extra offensive linemen playing?
Yeah, good chunk.
Yeah.
I thought that was big. I thought he had led the way on a lot of those big plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to look at closer. Who was really doing the heavy lifting, blocking up front.
Yeah, good stuff, Matt. Don't be a stranger. And then Kai from Hawaii says, I'm not going to tell you this was a football game only a purist would love. I started watching 10 years ago, and I love the games like this. And by the way, Hardy, curling is my favorite Winter Olympic sport.
Nice.
Okay, well, there's your barometer. Kai, hey, we were all glued to it too. I'm not saying it was
tremendously compelling.
It was compelling. I'm just saying if the NFL were like that every week, I think we like it because it was different. In many ways, people have emailed in tonight and said, I'm having more fun watching this team this year than when the Patriots were 8-0, to start the season a couple of years ago. And I get
Deuce's side of the street.
Yeah, it's different.
Remember?
It's different. Yeah.
It's fun.
Great stuff, guys. Final thoughts on the game, Deuce? Anything other than, great, tough win?
Yeah, great, tough win. Week off, much deserved. 4 games to go. Everything's in front of them. 1 seed, win out, you got it. So it's great. I just hope they can continue to improve. I hope the injury to Damian Harris isn't anything major.
Yeah, I think the bye comes at a good time, Hardy. You get a little rest. The latest, I think they said it was the latest bye week in the history of the NFL. I think it'd be them and the Colts, right?
Yeah.
A couple other teams. This is you get everything right in front of you. You control it all yourself, and it won't be easy because I think that trip to Indy a week from Saturday will not be a picnic.
All right, so that's when we will talk to you next for the pregame show coming up a week from Saturday.
Yay, another night game.
Yeah, well, at least it's on a Saturday. Thank you to Deatrich Wise for joining us here on the Patriots Postgame Show, and for everyone involved.
Quarter zip.
Your final score for the final time, Buffalo Bills 10, Patriots 14. That order is for you, Paul. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.